And followers, this is Nurses Talking Live with Dale. I am so glad that you are here. Our word for today is clarity. It's a simple word. It's one that can make a big difference in how we live, how we work, and how we relate to others. If you are joining me for the first time, thank you so very much for being here. If you're returning, thank you so very much for returning. It's good to have you. So I wanted to talk about clarity, particularly because last week I attempted to go live and it was a mess. And so in doing the post-mortem, in fact, trying to figure out why it didn't work, what I did wrong, what I realized is that I lacked clarity. I was talking about something that someone had suggested, and while it's a good topic to talk about, it wasn't one that I was ready for. And so preparing for it was an uphill battle, and at the same time, getting used to the live format. And so the whole thing just ended up as something that seemed to me, even to me, as not very well prepared. And so it occurred to me that I really need to look at and talk about clarity. So I'm thinking of clarity. Um, you know, I wasn't prepared for that. But when I did start Nurses Talking, I had some clarity. I knew when I wanted to start that YouTube channel, I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew who my audience would be. I knew those kinds of things. So even though it was an uphill battle, even though it was a steep learning curve, I was clear about my why. And so the buffers, the difficult times and all of that, they may have been hard, but they did not knock me off my path. So clarity doesn't really mean knowing everything. It doesn't mean that the road will be easy. It simply means knowing the next right step. So today I want to look at clarity in 3 areas. I want to look at clarity of purpose, clarity in communication, clarity in self-care and decision-making. And along the way, I would love to hear from you. And that will be another first for me because I'm trying to have people, talk with me as I talk or respond to me as I talk. So let's start with the first one, clarity of purpose. Clarity of purpose is like your compass. You get to know what you want and why do you want it. Without it, you are just kind of buffered. It's like setting out on a sailing trip, trying to go from one place to the other, but not even knowing exactly where the other place is or how you're going to get there. So without it, you wander. With it, you move with intention. And so for me, clarity of purpose has always been about service. It has always been about lifting up others. It's about creating platforms. It's about sharing stories. And it doesn't really have to be grand, it's a purpose that has carried me through challenges. It has sort of carried me through leadership, and it has carried me through education and as a storyteller. But it doesn't have to be always a big thing. Sometimes the clarity I need is, how am I going to shape my day tomorrow? Sometimes the clarity I need is, what do I really need to eat, or what do I need to do this week so that I feel well? So what's one purpose that drives you right now? Drop it in the comments if you have something that you'd like to say. And I see Rupert says clarity is so important. I agree with you. I cannot stress enough just how important it is. And that's a powerful point. So if anyone else feels the same way, go ahead, make a comment. Now that moves me into my next thing, clarity in communication. Let's talk about clarity in communication, because as nurses, I'm sure everyone else knows this too, but as nurses, we know for sure that unclear communication can literally mean the difference between life and death. So here's a quick story. When I first moved to the United States, I worked in the operating room. And my job in the operating room came about because I had had previous operating room experience. However, I was not yet familiar with like the different accents and things like that. So fairly early on in my being here, we're in the OR one day, surgery is happening, the surgeon asks for something. which I didn't understand. And so I asked him to repeat. He yelled. There was another surgeon in the room who said, but you were not clear. Nobody understood what you said. So he repeated, very kind of sarcastically, but he repeated anyway. And what I realized at the time was, had I done what I thought he said, it would have been a totally different outcome for the patient. So had I not been an experienced OR nurse and realized that what I thought he said didn't actually make sense and asked for clarification, there could have been a disaster happening. So that happened just in my work life, but that also, works in the personal life as well. I mean, how many arguments, misunderstandings, things like that can you think of that could have been avoided if we took the time to listen, to simplify, and to make sure we understood each other? So here's how I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of 3 C's: be clear, be concise, and confirm, right? And I'm sure everyone has experienced some kind of situation where lack of clarity in communication could have caused a problem, or maybe even did cause a problem. And when clear communication saves the day. Drop a comment in the chat if you'd like to comment on that, because that is so important. Over the last week, I have drilled it into myself just how important clarity is. Lastly, or thirdly, maybe I should say, because it's not lastly yet, but the final thing I want to talk about with clarity is clarity in how we care for ourselves, clarity in making decisions. Now, life is noisy, especially these days. I think that when I was a child, life was not as noisy, or at least it didn't appear to be. The noise I heard was my own noise at play and stuff like that. But now there's so much bombardment. Life is noisy. And without clarity, we say yes to everything. We run ourselves ragged. We try to accomplish 15 things when really we should be concentrating on one. Multitasking has become something about which we pat ourselves on the back. Very often we multitask, we're not clear about what we're doing. Not that multitasking is a bad thing, but it can encroach and occlude clarity. So I have learned to do a few things when I want to be clear about something. If I were to show you this room where I'm sitting right now, you would see a lot of paper. That's because when I have ideas, when I want, I write them down. It just helps me to get it out of my head and onto paper. So sometimes writing stuff down, journaling, however that works for you, to untangle your thoughts can help you achieve clarity. Mindfulness, prayer to center oneself. I have a simple phrase I've been learning to use. I didn't always use it, but sometimes now, even when I think I know what I'm going to do, when I'm approached with something, I say, let me think about that, just to give myself some space and time before I commit. So, lastly, where in your life do you need clarity? Think about that. At work, in your relationships, in your own personal decisions, where do you need clarity? And how can you go about achieving it? Lastly, I just want to do a quick recap, right? It's going to be a short live today. Quick recap. Clarity shows up in several ways, but here are 3. 1, knowing your purpose. 2, communicating with honesty. And 3, giving yourself time to make wise decisions. Clarity does not mean having all the answers. It does mean lighting the path for your next step. So, as you leave today, I want to encourage you to take a few minutes to think about, or to journal, or to write down, however you get thoughts out of your mind. Where do you need clarity right now? And what small step? It doesn't have to be a big step. What one small step can you take toward achieving that? If this was meaningful for you, please follow, subscribe, share this live. Join me on LinkedIn on Wellness Was Wednesday. I usually have a post or an article there where we can explore more words that guide us toward healthier, more personal living, or more purposeful and personal living. Until next time, let's walk forward in clarity together. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.